We're here at Lamastus Family Estates with Wilford Lamastus, and please just tell me how your family started this farm and how you grew to what you are today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. Yes, we started this coffee farm, my family, on my father's side in 1918. It's 106 years ago. When my grandfather came, he was working for the Panama Canal. He came from the US and he started working for the canal, and he worked for the canal for, I think that about from 1907 for about 10 years. And then he came here and he wanted, because he had come here before, he wanted to, retire in Boquete. He liked the weather, he liked the mountains, the rivers and all that. And then coffee was coming into, into something interesting around here, because coffee started here in Boquete in 1885 and many people were planting coffee.
And when did they start growing Gesha on your farm? When did you start?
When did we start growing Gesha? Growing Gesha, let's put it this way. The government of Panama, under the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, of FAO, the FAO had a program. They brought many seeds from all over, especially from Ethiopia and from all over, and they have a center in Costa Rica called Katie. Katie is still, I think that is still the largest center for coffee reproduction. So back in the 1930s, when Gesha was discovered in Ethiopia by one of the consuls, the general consul of the UK, Great Britain, England, in Ethiopia, he asked some local guys to get coffee seeds for him, because it was part of what the UK wanted to do. They wanted to spread coffee around, so the seeds, many seeds, among them the Gesha, went to Kenya and then to Tanzania. If you look at the records, if you go to Katie, then the code is T2124. Tanzania 2124 is a code that they use. And then that T2124 is now known as Panama Gesha because of this. So when the FAO had the center in Costa Rica in the 1960s, mid or late 1960s, they started spreading the plants around. They brought them from Costa Rica, the seeds around. They brought them from Costa Rica to Panama, Guatemala, all the Central America, even in the Caribbean. They even took some of those seeds to Dominican Republic. So the farmers, they took this seed, T2122, called Gesha. This is Gesha. This is another accession from Ethiopia. This is another one. This is another one. Plant them in your farm, 4 times 20, 50 trees. Plant them in your farm and see how it does. Remember, Joe, quality was not important. Nobody cared about quality back then. Okay, so it depended, everything was, based on the yields, the health of the plant, when they started producing, the death ratio. So they had many farms in Panama, in Boquete area especially, because Boquete was before the other side of the volcano, which is Volcan, Bambito, all that area was way before then. So then what happens is the farmers, like in my family's case, they just abandon it. They said, no, Mr. Government, Minister of Agriculture, this one is not working well, this one is, I prefer this one, but many people eliminated the Gesha, talking about 1960s, 1970s. And then, but there were other people that did not abandon it. I'll give you an example. When Mr. Frank Tedman is the grandfather of the actual president of SCAP. Hunter Tedman is the president of SCAP. Hunter's father, which is my age, he was one of the SCAP founding members. his name is Jimmy Tenman, Jaime Tenman. Jimmy Tenman, Ricardo Coiner, 7 of us, we formed SCAP. So Jimmy,
And what is SCAP now?
SCAP,
Can you explain
SCAP is the Specialty Coffee Association of Panama.
Yeah.
The Specialty Coffee Association of Panama was founded in 1997 by 7 of us. All of us traditional like me, grandparents, parents. As a matter of fact, the Tenmans are even 1 generation earlier. They started in 1885. So anyways, Mr. Frank Tenman, Hunter, the actual president of the Specialty Coffee Association of Panama, grandfather, he went to Costa Rica, he went to Katia, and he bought seeds. There are records of, the transaction, which is in SCAP's Specialty Coffee Association's website. I think that we have it in our website too, where it says Mr. Frank Tenman bought so many kilos of seeds. He brought the seeds over, and he made nurseries. And then he started with his friends and in his farms planting geisha. He did the nurseries and he sold them. And then one of those farms is La Esmeralda Jaramillo. La Esmeralda Jaramillo, before Mr. Price Peterson bought La Esmeralda, that the former owner never cut the geisha down. As a matter of fact, the geisha is more resistant to like royal disease,
Right. Yeah.
Okay? So there was 1 year of real bad weather, some storms or whatever. We don't have hurricanes, but we have the tail of the hurricanes that make this very wet. It was very wet, and a lot of the trees suffer because of fungi growth, roya, rust. But the geishas, most of the geishas survive. So they decided to plant more geisha. And then the association, Specialty Coffee Association of Panama, when Mr. Peterson bought that farm, was holding their yearly competition called the Best of Panama. So it was like the 4th year of the competition, or 5th, let me see, 2004, in one of the competition, blind copying, international judges and everything else, half a week or a week of 5 days, 4 or 5 days of judging back then was not that much. This time around is more than that. One of the coffees from the very beginning was found to be totally different. So judges cannot talk to each other during the competition, but after the copying, after the liberation, in the evenings, one of the judges was saying, as a matter of fact, that judge was Rick Reinhardt. He was the executive director of the SCA for a while. Rick was one of the judges. He was telling the other judges, wow, Panamanians have like an Ethiopian coffee here in these tables. So at the end, 2004, end of the competition, pricing ceremonies, a dinner, everybody together. So coffee number 1, Peterson family. They didn't call it La Esmeralda back then, they called it something else. I forgot, it's in the records, I forgot. So everybody went, all of the farmers like me, everybody else around. Daniel, his son, Daniel Peterson. Daniel, what is that? He said, this is a geisha variety. Geisha? And then, wow, and then they started, geisha. And there was a colleague of mine, an oil grower. He said, I have geisha in my farm. I have it. You have geisha? Where did you put it? I didn't know about the quality. I didn't know anything. Nobody knew, not even the Peterson knew. They just put it because, like Price Peterson says, if you watch Higher Grounds, it's in YouTube, Higher Grounds, Price talks about how they had gotten like last place in the previous competition, and Daniel asked his dad, Dad, look, this coffee tastes weird. It tastes different. It tastes like some tea. And his dad said, Daniel, we got last place last year. We're not going to do any worse. So put it in. That is in Higher Grounds. Higher Grounds is a YouTube documentary.
Mhm.
So, and then it's interesting how Price talks about this. Then the guy, my colleague, Tito Vargas, is that I had geisha in my farm. The next day, that was Saturday, on Sunday, I went to his farm with him, and then I grabbed a bunch of seeds, and I did the nursery, and it takes like a year. So in 2005, I planted the first geisha that we got from this farm was planted in 2005 here in Torrelot, and then 5 years later we started harvesting, and the first people that we sold the geisha to was Verve Coffee Roasters in Santa Cruz, California. In order for you to compete, back then things changed, you had to have 150 pounds of green. In order for you to have 150 pounds, you have to reject whatever, 30%, so you have to have 200 pounds of green. So the first year that we had started harvesting, we didn't produce that much. The second year, we didn't produce that much. And then came 2006, we had enough and we started competing. And from there on, we have won. We have never, since we started competing, only once. Only once we have not made it to the top 8, top 6 as a matter of fact. 6, 1 year we were out, that was in 2007, we were not in the top 8, which is the ones that are called during the ceremony. 8, 7, 1. So we were 6 in 2000 and we were 6 in 2007. We were first in 6 in 2006. First in 2007, and we missed 2006. But 2008 we won Geisha Wash and Geisha Natural. 2009 we won Geisha Wash and Geisha Natural again. So geisha was first harvested here in around 2010, same as in El Burro. And from there on, we have continued planting geisha all over. I have acquired all the properties where we have planted geisha, and we have only planted geisha, not no other variety since 2005 when we started planting geisha. We haven't planted Catuay anymore or Típica.
And how many pounds of geisha do you produce now per year?
I produce a lot. Why do I say this? So the thing is that, remember, this is a family business. My son, which is the 4th generation, he works with me, and he's full-time with me. Active, he's part of the board of directors of the Specialty Coffee Association of Panama, OSCAP, and he's very active. And then his wife is the branding. My daughter works with the software that we use, the crops, the sales for whatever. So my wife works also with us, helping a lot on this stuff, everything else. She just works with coffee tours. And so, do we want to produce more geisha? Yes, we want to produce more geisha. Do we want to sell the geisha at the same price that we're selling it now or at higher price? That is the aim. I can produce a lot of geisha and I can just sell it at the price of the Catuay, easy. When I say I have a lot, it's not that I have a lot of coffee, but at those prices that I sell, my standard price is for El Burro, $50 a pound. For Elida is $65 a pound, except for Torre, Aguacate, Vuelta, those are $75 a pound. And selling coffee at $50 a pound is not an easy task. You have to find. All you gotta do is find the client. How do you find the client? Traveling. I've been 4 times to China in 1 year. My son just came back from Taiwan. After I came back from China, he went to Taiwan. You have to find the clients. You have to see how you reach those kids, those young kids in cities in China, especially because China is very big, or in Hong Kong, or whatever, especially in China, because Chinese people, Asians in general, but of course, I say China all the time because if you are in Shanghai and you take one of those bullet trains that runs at 300 plus kilometers from the main station in Shanghai, you go 1 hour west, 1 hour east, 1 hour north, 1 hour south, you have 60 million people. Right there, 1 hour from the center of Shanghai. And the total population of Korea is 80 or less. Japan is 100, whatever. So that's why I say China. It's not because if it is a small country, I wouldn't be. And they are passionate. They have a lot of passion. They are so enthusiastic about Gesha. And how do you spread yourself around? Doing different things. Going to the conventions, traveling, and we have an auction. This is our 4 years of an auction. This year we sent 73 sets of samples all over of the auction, mainly in China. And so a set of samples goes to a city that I didn't know existed. And people cup the coffees, invite people, they charge people to come and cup. And that young guy who works making enough, he goes to the coffee and he said, wow, I like that coffee a lot. Do you have some of that coffee shop owner or roaster? Yes, we sell it all the time here. We have here, we brew in bags, whatever. And then that's how us have found the best way to spread our coffee around, which is a good coffee. Our coffee is very good, okay? And people like good things, you know? Same as tea, they like good tea and whatever. All over the world, people like, so the way we do it is by also sending normal samples, standard samples that we send all over the place to all our clients, or they come here and cup. Many cup, like you saw one today, they come here and cup, they shoot their coffee, this is the lot that I like this one, how many kilos of this one you have, and then that's how we make business, or by sending samples. And then the more samples that we can sell, the better it will be. Same as with the BOP. For the Best of Panama competition this year, we sent around 108 set of samples of 50 samples of 100 grams each.
Like this set here?
Like this one, yes.
And so what do you sell those for?
We sell those for 1,000, but SCAP sells the set for 2,000. 108 sets. Interesting about SCAP, listen to this. In that set of 50, you have 18 Gesha Naturals, the top 18 out of 61. The top 18 Gesha Wash out of 61. And the top 14 varietals out of 61. From, I think that this year, submittals were like 68 growers, but only about, I think there are only about 30 some made it to the auction, because only 50 made it to the auction out of 180. The other 130 some go back to the grower. So when somebody in Alaska gets that set, you get samples from let's say 35 different growers. I forgot how many growers. 35 different growers, different varieties, different cup profiles on the Gesha. Maybe the one that won is not your preferred lot. You prefer number 7 or probably number 18. Or you say, I'm willing to bid so much on 18. So that is spread around all over the place. One of the way you compare to Panama to other growing countries is that all these things has helped us be known around the world, because we're very, very well organized. And we have been doing it 26 years continuously with lots of success. Because, like I tell my staff, if you do things well from the beginning and continue doing it right, they will come out right. And in SCAP, that is probably one of the reasons why we have done it so well. Of course, we have the good coffee. If we didn't have good coffee, we wouldn't be where we are.
Do you find that there's a favorite washed, natural, honey,
Okay.
or fermented?
Okay. Let's go back 10 years ago. 10 years ago, the trend for anaerobic. Okay, let's go back. Back until 2007, there were, or 6, there were no naturals, not even forever or Gesha, Catuais or varieties. There were no naturals, only wash. Wash, and then we started putting natural. First competition that put natural, Catuay natural, whatever, was us, BOP, Peso Panama. We put natural. Then came the Gesha, wash, natural, and then things started changing back then, from wash to natural. Classic natural, you harvest the fruit, dry it, and then come out with a fruity flavor. Berries, blueberries, blackberries, whatever, fruity, strawberries, cherries. Then comes the anaerobically fermented. The anaerobically fermented were shining for a while, but it didn't take long for people to go back to more of the classic, where the variety, in the case of Gesha, the delicate flavors and outstanding flavors found nowhere else of the Gesha can be ruined if you over ferment it. If you put a Gesha 10 days in fermentation, either in a tank or in a reactor that we use, you start losing a lot of the delicate flavors that people are looking for. If you put a Gesha in a tank 15 days, you might as well put a Catuay. It's going to taste the same. You put it 10 days, we don't like to do it that much. We found out that the best is less than 6 days, even less. But you can treat the coffee if you do a real good fermentation, like we did the Vuelta, the one the Peso Panama. We did it 2 days in a bag, grain per bag. We put small quantity of Gesha in fruit there. We put, let's say, I think that we put like 50 pounds of fruit in several bags. Remember, the big tanks, they take 350 pounds. The smaller tanks, 200. The reactors, some of them 300 pounds, some 200 pounds. Here we put 50, concentrated, in different bags. 2 days. 2 days only. So the fermentation helped the variety. It didn't ruin it. It put some touches of, some fruits that made it still very, very attractive in the cup. And we have been doing these experiments, us here, cupping, scientifically very little. You measure the pH, you measure the temperature, measure the total suspended salt, whatever. But at the end, when we put it on the table and cup it, is how we decide that what we need to do. Okay? So the heavy anaerobically processed coffee in this farm are not really the clients, even the clients who requested we do anaerobic for them, they don't go after those anymore.
So mainly just natural.
Classic natural wash, honeys too.
And so what do you see the future of Gesha in coffee?
The future of Gesha is starting. Gesha is starting. All you gotta do is just be able to find somebody to drink it. It's difficult because this is not the market. The market is way somewhere else. How do you reach the market? So when we replicate, when you go to a coffee shop with somebody who has never drank coffee, and you say, look, try this. And they say, wow, that's good. What is that? And I'm used to the Starbucks or the Pete's Dark Roast. This is different. That is how and it will grow like that. You see this group that came here today, a group of reporters from all over, from the US all the way to Brazil and whatever, Chile, Argentina. No, not Chile, Argentina. They started telling me when they were leaving, so how do I make this coffee at home? Easy to, I told her, go to YouTube and find out how the champion did it or whoever, grind, the right equipment, and then you get hooked. So if you get people hooked little by little, eventually Gesha will be easier to sell. Here, land is very limited, very, very limited in Panama. We don't have those big plateaus like you have in Ecuador or Colombia at 18, 19, 2,000 meters, hundreds or maybe thousands of square kilometers of high elevation. Here we grow coffee here in these mountains, around here. The rest of the country is lowland. So in Panama, finding more area that can yield what I call the perfect or the closest thing to the perfect terroir for Gesha is very, very limited. There is no more land. There is very little land. There is some. You go to the extremes like I did. I bought a farm this year and I planted there already at 2,190 meters. Is it going to produce at that elevation? Hopefully, yes. I'm not sure, but people who are not in the coffee business like me are not willing to try that. I mean, that's for somebody who has been like that. Or maybe some people, wealthy people, who are willing to wait 7 years and start harvesting and see what happens, and they don't care about the risk. So limited land here means that the production of Gesha here is not going to grow that much. If I was in Guatemala or in Colombia, they still have plenty of land at high elevation that can yield a very good cup of coffee, as good as ours. But here in Panama, it's not that much land.
Well, I've taken up more time than I told you I would.
No, I am enjoying it.
Okay. Anything you can say to my audience or to me personally? You know, I got my seeds from you're kind of like the godfather of my farm.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay, Joe, I gotta thank you. I think that things like this, channels like this, are what we need to get people to drink better coffee. You know, because once you start drinking better coffee or anything, once you start drinking better tea, once you start eating better food or whatever, better ceviches, then you will continue doing it because you're going to enjoy it. It's part of life. Part of life is not having a new pair of shoes. Traveling is another part of life. You know that. When you travel to other places, wow, this is exotic. Wow, this is exotic. This coffee is exotic. So thank you very much. Good luck in your farm. Anything I can do, just text me. Whatever, how do you dry your coffee, the dark room, whatever, I can help you. What I tell people all the time is I have to help coffee growers because I was helped. Gesha is not from here, it's from Ethiopia. It came in, finally reached me. I have sold Gesha seeds in many countries. Nepal, Cambodia, Philippines, China, Taiwan, Haiti, Dominican Republic, all Central America, South America, Brazil. I have sold in Hawaii, Gesha seeds. I have sold in, I forget which other countries I have sold to. And it's producing. And people India, and people contact me. Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. I have sold seeds all over. And for the benefits of the growers, growers, Panama is different, Panama is a bit different, especially in those who grow coffee, Gesha coffee. I need to leave a legacy. I need to help growers all over the place. We need to help our human beings, right? So this helps. Thank you so much, Joe. And
thank you, and please come visit Finca ChakanaCruz in Ecuador and see
good.
see
Thank
your
you so
offspring.
much. Thank you. Okay, good.